And now, coming to you from the Pensado Media Center, powered by Westlake Pro.
From Coldplay to Cirque du Soleil to virtual synths, our guest has turned eclectic into an art form. We announced the winners of the Indaba Converse Rubber Track Contest today, brand new ITL. Oh, and Gear Expo LA rocked and rolled. Let's get it. You're at the place. It's Pensado's place.
Yay.
I put a little tail on it. Yeah, exactly.
Hey guys, post Gear extravaganza.
Have you recovered?
From carrying all that stuff I stole? Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
My back's a little sore.
Have you sold it already?
No, I never sell gear. You know.
That's true. I sold mine, but I didn't get very much.
No, man, I had a ball. Great panel. The audience was spectacular.
Really
you guys
was.
were everything we hoped you'd be. I got to meet so many people.
It was a good hangout. Huh?
I had a blast.
Yeah, I did too.
I think I had more fun than anybody.
We had a good time. Shall we get to it?
Let's do it.
Howdy, folks. Hope all is well in your world. For those where it may not be well, like in Orlando, or if you're a member of both our family and the LGBTQ community, know that our prayers are up and the community of audio supports you, as does the whole world. You can see by that graphic, that's the Eiffel Tower, and we will stay focused on this pain. Cowardice never wins. F that, I'm not going to cuss this early in the show, but know that we're with you and those people in our community that are part of that community, we care. And for anybody who cares, we care right with you. We're supporting you. Our supporters include the Blackbird Academy, Vintage King, Avid, Lander, Isotope, DTS, Fab Factory and Recording Connection. As Dave alluded to, Gear Expo Los Angeles this weekend was an absolute blast. About 800 of our closest friends from about 12 countries were there. Friends like CLA, Ross Hogarth, Gavin Lurson, Ivana Manley, Tony Maserati, Bobby Ozinski, Andy Tompkins from NAMM, they were all there. The Hitmakers panel, Electronica panel, and the Flicks panel were sick, absolutely sick. Companies like Audionamics, Apogee, Avid, Recording Connection, Trans Audio, Mojave, and Dusty also has Royer. Lander were in the house. They were demoing and giving away their technology. Guys and gals were all there. Good-looking group of folks that came out to Gear Expo. It was really good. The beer was flowing. What I noticed is that people stayed about 2 hours after closing and hung out. It was just a good vibe. We're editing the show now. We will run it for you shortly, and you will absolutely enjoy it. The other thing we've been talking about for a couple weeks is announcing this ridiculously awesome Indaba Converse Rubber Tracks contest that also has the Pensado name on it. An amazing amount of entries, an amazing number of times the mixes were listened to. The quality of the work was really high. I know you talked to me a lot about how incredible
I was very impressed.
And the prizes are super cool. So really quickly, we want to thanks to Westlake Pro, one of our sponsors. We love them. UA and Isotope for their contributions. And let's go a little bit farther and bring on our man, Aaron Bastinelli from Converse Rubber Tracks. Aaron, you there?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So just to set the table, you produced the band, correct? And you also cut it inside Converse Rubber Tracks studios, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So Regret the Hour, they're friends of mine, and I've been working with them for a couple of years now. Mm-hmm. And I work at Converse Rubber Tracks. I've been the staff engineer there for about 5 years now.
The one in Brooklyn, correct? The one in Brooklyn?
The one in Brooklyn, correct, yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we came in to do a short session for the Indaba, the Converse Rubber Tracks music library. Mm-hmm. And so we came in specifically for that to record a song that we could then take samples from and put up onto the sample library website.
I like the song. I think the song ought to be on a record.
And you cut this in one day, correct?
Yeah. So we tracked the song in about 6 hours in total. And we spent about 45 minutes just throwing together a mix for it. So kind of just like a in and out type of deal.
By the way, your mix didn't win.
No, I know, it's okay. I didn't expect it to.
Damn, Aaron. Shit, man, that's a drag. We will do this in the future, but the Rubber Track sample library, a really cool thing, right? Converse is really focused on this and building this library out. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea behind the sample library was to kind of bring the same opportunity that we allow independent artists to have at Rubber Tracks to people who can't make it to one of our studios. So we have bands come in of varying degrees of notoriety. People like Regret the Hour, who no one, they're an up-and-coming artist, to, larger acts like The Roots. And the whole concept is for them just to come in and as a band just play a song that then can be taken and chopped up into samples. Cool. With the idea being that it's it's kind of creating more of a feel. It's not like a sterile sample pack that like a guy just sits there to click and plays the drums. It's like a band playing in a room together. So yeah.
So actually, what you extract out is an organic live performance kind of sample that feels real.
Yeah, exactly. Some of it to a click, some of it not. It just really it varies.
Very, very cool. All right, so here's how we're going to do this, DP. Aaron is going to announce the popular vote winners, and then I'll let him know what the prizes are, and then you can announce the runner-up and the grand prize winner. Is that cool?
Okay.
All right, Aaron, we're going to give a virtual drum roll, and you'll announce who is the number 3 popular vote winner.
All right, number 3 popular vote winner is High End Studios.
High-End Studio. Wow. Oh, applause in the audience. And the number 2 winner is?
Number 2 winner is Aisley.
Aisley. That's ASLI. Woo! Lordy. And the number 1 popular vote winner is?
1 popular vote is Trey Marshall.
Trey Marshall. If that's TRE, could be a brother.
Number 3 gets a golf clap.
Gets a golf clap? Well, this is number 1. So we're
number 1!
Yeah, right. We're past that. All right. So if I remember correctly, I don't remember the stats, but it was over 200,000 times, I think, that the popular vote was listened to on Indaba's site. Amazing number. And those guys will win Isotope Trash. Thank you, Isotope, for making that possible. And you'll get a 1-year subscription to Indaba Music Pro, I believe. Very, very cool stuff. Now, DP. Aaron's done his thing, and very professional, I might add, sir. You may have a future in broadcasting, my man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Listen, we're open. There's nobody here. And I need a break. So if you want to come in and just kidding. Okay, cool. Now, my man Dave, known for his perfection, he wasn't good enough for him to just listen. You want to explain your criteria for judging? Because I'm looking at an Excel spreadsheet that is full of stuff.
Well, first of all, I can't hear anymore because I listen to so many mixes.
So my commissions are going to go away for the next year.
Yeah. And all kidding aside, you can't, I want it to be fair, and I don't want to get, I couldn't listen to like a million at a time, or else I just,
burn out.
So I came up with a system that I really, really like. I'm going to share it with you just so you'll know that we put effort into judging this contest like you can't believe. Spent time on everybody. So I broke the categories down to 10 categories, and I gave them a 1 to 10 rating on each category. So the highest score you could get would be 100. So the categories I used were vocals, which meant how they treated vocals, levels and balance, EQing skill, use of effects, stereo field like panning and stuff, the vibe and emotion, drums and guitars, inventiveness, musicality, and did I love it?
That last one counts.
Well, they asked me to judge it for a reason, and so there were a couple of songs I felt something with, and you know how I feel about music.
All right, let's get to it.
Okay.
So the number 2 runner-up in this huge contest that we have waited, and you have judged very succinctly and specifically. The number 2 winner is who?
Confus. Konfus.
Confus. Woo!
Confus's vocals were amazing. Really liked his vibe and emotion, and I really loved it.
Are you convinced that Confus is a he?
I am not.
Okay, cool, but that's all right. We'll let that hang out there. So Confus wins whatever gender conference is. Ozone 7, a $250 Converse gift card. Pro status in Indaba Music, and that's really good stuff. Ozone
And he
7.
also won my respect.
And Dave's respect, and you can trade that in. Now for the grand prize winner, the person who kicked behind. Who is it?
Well, I just like saying Makarenko. Alexei Makarenko, Alexy Makarenko.
And then
Makarenko. Makarenko. Amazing job. Amazing job. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I just liked everything about that mix. Everything they did was just moving me towards an emotional feeling and reaction to it,
which is what a good mix should do.
Yeah, and so of the top 10, I would play them in different orders over and over, because sometimes the first one you hear, I would rate higher and all that, and time again. And by the way, I didn't use names on my list. I used codes so that I could go back and put names on them, and I just felt something about that mix. Great job. I'm telling you, I'm real proud of you. You got a future in this if you want it. So, and you also have some prizes. They are, thanks to Westlake Pro and Universal Audio, an Apollo Twin Dual, right? We've got pro status for Indaba Music. You have a $250 gift card, and there's a little online web show, not so little, that you're going to be a guest on in the future, which is called Pensado's Place, and we get to ask you some questions and see what you're doing. Can't wait.
What you're going to hear, Aaron, which you won't be able to hear personally, but right now the audience is applauding you around the world. Please say hello to the band, because they kicked behind.
Yeah.
The work was specific. We're going to have you back on the show when we start talking about rubber tracks and the sample library and all that kind of stuff.
I look forward to it.
And then here's the other question. When we get to New York, which is coming up pretty shortly, and there's also a Boston event, can we come by and see you in the studio?
Absolutely, anytime.
Man, be great. Thank you so much for participating. Great song. Again, hello to the band. Congratulations to all the winners. Indaba, Converse Rubber Tracks, good stuff. Westlake Pro, UA, Isotope, great stuff. And we'll be doing one again soon. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks,
All right,
Aaron.
See you.
Take care.
All right, man.
Cool. All right, so now let's say hello to the happy Hungarian who's not a hipster, but he's kind of hip. He goes by the name of...
I'm just happy about the flag.
I know, right? You're working that flag, man. We're international today. So your Gear Expo observations, what do you think?
What a good Gear Expo. It was more people turned out than we could ever hope for. The community got together, and the information that was there, not even to mention all the prizes we gave away. Man, it was incredible.
There was a special moment in all three panels, wasn't there?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
The thing that I noticed the most is how satisfied the vendors are. Like, you get these different pockets. There's vendors, and they've paid money to be there. We don't get that money. It goes to Vintage King. There's Vintage King and how they feel about it. There's the audience and how they feel about it. There's the panelists and how they feel about it. And to a person, man and woman, people felt engaged. It was really worth it. And actually, we had a little drizzle, unusual, and everybody stayed for that. Cool. It was
I got a lot of people were saying good things about the vendors and the patience that they had, and they would explain stuff, and said it was a great opportunity to talk about potential purchases, that sort of thing. So
and the Vintage King showroom was ridiculous.
Oh,
it's really
as you
cool.
noticed, every time we took a break, I snuck in.
Yeah, you did. I was like, Dave, come on. You were in gear and stuff.
So many knobs, so little time.
So next rabbit hole we got is what, Chongor?
Whew, it's the big one. It's the Pensado Awards.
Say that again, Chongor.
He's already on combat duty. He sounded like a black woman right there, didn't he?
Say it again.
No. I'm just getting ready for my lack of sleep.
Shoot, man, what's that?
We had a lot of people at Gear Expo who wanted to go, and I think they signed up. Yeah. CLA showed up, and he's a host, and Gavin showed up, and I heard from Ali, who's a host, and we're going to announce a couple more in the next week or so. Look, it sounds silly coming from us because it sounds like we're tooting our own horn. We're not. I think, well, you could speak to it. I think that whenever you can become part of when you can come to an event and see how much you're part of the community and how they see you as a peer, and you can walk away with that, I think that if it were me, it would elevate my enthusiasm about my career. Is that fair to say?
No, 100%. I mean, the reality is there's no other event like the Pensado Awards where pay your $50. You come, and then you get to meet all the engineers you look up to. There's no other event in the world that gives this opportunity to you, and it's a no-brainer. If you're still in school, still aspiring, or just want to find a home, this is the place to go, or at least make some new friends that are also in the audio community. It's no-brainer.
Oh, wow. Very good, John. Good job, Lord have mercy. So it's really easy, guys. Go to PensadoAwards.com. Excuse me. Sign up. There's stuff on the landing page. Hotel rooms, directions, specifics, all kinds of stuff. We'll delve in deeper in just a little bit. I had a production meeting this morning. Very excited. The moments are going to be cool. You're going to have a good time. Let's pack it out. Let's rock it. And one of the things John Gore said that's interesting is, yes, there'll be engineers there, but there'll also be producers, and there'll be a couple of artists, and there'll be some other things that'll be there. So it'll be really the show business community that focuses around audio, and then make sure that we, as audio people, remember there is no other discipline in media any place but audio. Audio is the one leveler across the board, and we gather all those folks who run that space, and they're going to be there. It's a night under the stars where the stars gather, so you got to be there.
I just want to just toss in, just for me,
Sure.
A little message to Ivana Manley. We're thinking about you.
Yeah, she was there. Absolutely. Okay, the Blackbird Academy, really quickly, July class still has some spots in it. Sign up now. Hit Carmen at theblackbirdacademy.com. International students and vets, this means you too. We're going to go back down and teach. They always get it done really, really well, so make sure that happens. Dave P., what is the ITL you have for us this week?
Oh, I did some cool stuff with vocals. Check it out.
Cool.
Hey guys, every once in a while, I have a solution and I have to try and find a problem to use it on. I love sidechaining, and I love experimenting with putting different things in the sidechain and then putting those compressors or even gates on different instruments. I've tried, letting the vocals determine how loud the guitars are, and we call that ducking sometimes. And I've put transient designers in the side chains. I've put delays in the side chains. I've done all kinds of stuff, but I like this one. I wanted to share it with you. I think this is a very musical way. This is a very musical way to get. Well, let me just show you. That'll be the easiest thing. So what I've got is I've got my effects on my vocal right here, where you see effects, and then my vocal is coming here. It's running through an aux, and I wanted to show you from the aux so I can get everything into one screen. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking a send from the aux, the vocal. I'm letting the vocal come into the compressor on bus 23 right here, and it's controlling how much compression happens. So here's without it.
Tell me what is up, 'cause I don't know. Tell me.
I really like those effects, but I want the vocal to be a little more intimate when he's singing. So let's let the compressor do the work for us. So now when you see this level come down, that means that the effect is getting lower. The vocal is not, the level of the vocal is not affected by this, just the effect. Watch this.
Tell me what is up, 'cause I don't know. Tell me.
That's so cool. Now we can play with it a little bit. We can slow this down.
Tell me what is up, 'cause I don't know. Tell me.
So you see the release lets the effects come in a little slower. Try this, please, but at the same time, make sure that you try and find new applications for the concept, okay? All right.
Our guest is an absolute textbook example of how to take outsized talent, combine it with curiosity, and spread that across hit records, hit producers, TV and film, virtual synths, all kinds of business stuff. He is also a great friend of ours. Welcome to the desk, the one, the only, Carmen Rizzo.
Carmen,
what's up, man?
Thank you for having me.
Okay, the haircuts really fly. I'm a little pissed. I think what I'm going to do is, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Chongor After today, next week you're gonna look like that. I'm just gonna take you. I'm gonna get you high on hand rolls, and then have your hair.
That was an introduction.
You know what it is? We get the happy Hungarian who gets high on hand rolls.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. There's next week's introduction. Fire away, sir.
Man, you and I have been friends for a long time, and the way you started in the business, I've always found inspirational. Can you share that with?
There's some janitor stuff in your past.
Yeah, my story's interesting to me, maybe not to some other people, but I moved to Los Angeles when I was 19 from the San Francisco Bay Area, and I didn't have a job, so I was a janitor at Westlake Studios, 1984. Then I was the runner, the gopher, and then after hours I would just stay and learn and listen, and often just kind of sleep at the studio, and I would just listen and just educate myself.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that I became an assistant. I paid my dues, and then I bounced around town, being an assistant at other studios around town for only maybe 1 or 2 years.
Really?
And then I met a guy named John Barnes.
Sure, we know John.
A very successful session player back in the 80s. And then because I knew gear and I started by wanting to learn, technology, I did everything for him. I engineered, I was teching, I was programming.
Wow.
And when he had other engineers come in, like Bill Bottrell, I would assist him. And so I was kind of schooled, and then that's how I met the Michael Jackson camp. And
so you worked on the Michael Jackson stuff back in the day?
Indirectly through, my famous sort of funny story was during the Bad album, John and Bill Bottrell had done an awful lot of that work for the Bad album, and then Quincy and Bruce then came in, and they had to kind of like redo it. So one day John says, we have to go over to Westlake Studios. This is years after I had worked there.
Right.
And he asked me to come tech because this is at the peak of his career and all this stuff. So I said, okay, cool. So I was there, I had to sign all these waivers. I was a kid.
Right.
And I was setting up the gear, and then I was in the control room and I was allowed to stay, So it was Bruce, Quincy, Michael, John, and me.
Wow.
And they were doing The Way You Make Me Feel.
Wow.
And then he wanted hand claps, and then John had me play them on the Lin 9000 to program them. And I just remember that feeling of Michael turning up really loud and dancing in the control room, and I'm playing hand claps, which is kind of lame, right? Just on a drum machine. But it was kind of a funny story.
Amazing. When those things happen, and you got a chance to be not kicked out,
not kicked out, yeah, because during that time,
right?
Yeah.
And it always felt to me like you got behind the velvet rope. You didn't even want to breathe. I had the same similar experience the first time Maurice White asked me to come to his house.
Okay.
And we're sitting at his pool table, and there's all these equipment things for being on the road. And they were all small. And I said, what's in there? He opened them. They were all Kalimbas that he used to. So he pulled them out and unconsciously was playing them while he was talking to me. And I was like, I didn't want to breathe, but I wanted to go out and call every college friend I had and say, I'm standing in Maurice White. So, but it's that moment where somebody super artistic says, you're cool to be around. Your vibe doesn't detract from what we're doing. Why don't you stay? And that's special.
Well, it's special because a lot of these people, there's people around, but you're not allowed to stay often.
That's right.
Especially when you're some young kid.
Yeah.
So that was a funny story, kind of how I started. And then during that time period, I met Wendy and Lisa from the Prince camp during their height. And then I got surrounded around that camp and was doing records with them.
Did you do anything with Prince?
I did a remix for him of the song Get Off, but I actually never made records with him. He was often next to me, fast forwarding when I was often working at Larrabee.
Okay.
He was next to me, but
I remember when he used to come to Larrabee.
He used to come to Larrabee all the time.
Yeah.
So
the one in West Hollywood?
Yes.
Or the one the original.
The lounge upstairs was decorated for Prince. We call it the Prince Room.
Oh, okay.
And the big SSL room he used to use because it had its own toilet. Where everyone else had to share, but he had his own bathroom. So.
No question. You got to leave Prince alone.
My room.
And that was your room.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
So this combination of things, one of the things that Dave and I talked about your career that we think is fascinating is that you have followed your muse, like whether it's technology or artistry or working with producers or working with certain art or TV and film. Have you just let it go where it's taken you and then applied your skills based on the opportunity? Is that kind of how you've done it? Or was it specific?
No, I often let things fall into place because, people acknowledge you for the records that you've done. They don't check your bank account. They don't check how much money's in your wallet or what they paid you. They say, you did that record. You worked with that artist. And that was something I always would hang my hat on, because some of the best records I've ever done weren't always the highest paying.
Sure.
And they definitely weren't always even the highest in chart success.
Right.
But it's always sustained a career for me. And
because it's really the impact of the music, even if it's not sales.
well, and I wanted to get records based on the records that I had done.
Right.
And I remember there was a good point in my career where I was doing a lot of records with Trevor Horn.
Amazing.
Ooh, my hero.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's one of my heroes as well. He made so many great records from England. And I was then doing the Seal record, and then I was doing a mix or something for Britney Spears. And it was no disrespect to Britney Spears, but at the time I was really worried because I was getting all this great sort of eclectic work from Seal, from that record. And I was like, if I have a hit with this Britney Spears, which would have been a great problem to have,
Right.
maybe I would only get work from those kinds of records, which I didn't really want to do, because some of my colleagues were doing really big records, making a lot of money, a lot more money than I was making. And some of them weren't satisfied, I could tell. And they were coming to me sort of confidentially, like, how are you working with Trevor Horn? How did you do the Seal record? How are you doing these records? When I was thinking, I was asking them, like the opposite question. So I was scared of that, because I didn't want to know that I was only going to be doing one kind of record.
What I love is that you kind of went for respect, your own respect first.
I wanted to make records that I would buy.
That's very unusual in our profession.
And I think a turning point for my career was when I was doing the Ryuichi Sakamoto record, he's one of my favorite artists of all time. He's actually from Tokyo, and Virgin linked me with Don Was.
Oh yeah.
And we did a Khaled record, which is a French record, and he was an Algerian French artist who, at the time, was only big in Algeria. But Don, I knew, I wanted to work with him. We did this record, and this record was a huge, huge hit in France and all over Europe, and it was this anthem, and I had did this record with him. So all of a sudden, I was getting this work.
World music kind of
from
stuff?
France, from Paris, and it was music that I loved, and I took it really very seriously. Where at the time, I was finding some of my other colleagues weren't. They were like, this is a trip to Paris.
Right.
I want to go to Paris.
Paris, very quietly, has kind of become the center of world music. Because of their immigration policies. They've got a lot of great music that's centered
It's
there.
always been a sort of like mecca for world music.
It's like a melting pot.
But at the time, a lot of my colleagues, I found at least then, weren't taking those records very seriously. So I was like, this is a great record, this is a great artist, I want to do it, and then I was getting all this work.
You were the outlier.
How can you not take A.R. Rahman records seriously? He won 2 Oscars, 2 Grammys, Golden Globe, and 18 trillion other. How can you not take that seriously?
No, I know, and like that. Fast forward into working with AR and other great world music, and then I did a few records on my own with Niaz and with Hunt Her Too and other projects.
Explain Niaz. I think that's such a cool project. You put that together.
Yeah, Niaz is a project that I co-founded with my 2 other colleagues in Niaz, and I did a record called Ekova, which was a French record, and. So Azam Ali, who's the singer, was a big fan of this record, and she kind of tracked me down, and she said, do you want to do this band project with me? And I said, well, I don't know. So I said, let's do one song and see if it works. And if it works, let's go. And it worked. And then it was a 10-year, thing. We made many records, and we toured the world many times.
You had like 3 #1 world music chart.
Every record we put out went to #1 on the world music charts.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
So it was
amazing.
very successful because it was sort of fusing classical Middle Eastern music with electronic, and it was fused in a way that I'd like to think was very tasteful.
My world music chops aren't where they should be. Can you give me like a 30-second advertisement for world music and why I should spend more attention with it? A lot of times, the new age component that sometimes gets put with it. I leave the studio, and then I got to hear. A little whispering through the pine stuff, and I can't relate that fast. Am I missing something? Educate me.
Well,
'cause I believe in the validity of the movement.
Sure. I mean, I don't know if I'm the best person to educate anyone in world music because there's a term, world music, which is like saying, hip hop or something. Like, what does that mean? There's different subgenres, right? For hip hop. But for me, it's more of a global scene, and you pick a region. You like where there's Oriental or Middle Eastern or Latin or African, and there's North African, there's South African, right? So for me, I just am very interested in other cultures and what they do with their music. And so I wasn't always interested in making a classical record from a region, but more being the bridge to where East meets West and do it in a very tasteful way that it's something that you haven't heard before. And I think with Niaz, with Hun Her 2, with a few other projects, that I'd like to think I kind of was good at that.
I'm going to take a little bit of time to pontificate and philosophize here. All music is an outgrowth of technology, and music and technology have been wed together and embedded together since the beginning of time.
Absolutely.
Before the piano was invented in the 1700s, music was different. The piano allowed orchestration, it allowed a lot of things. Before the printing press, your record was, hey, here's some sheet music. Oh, let me copy it down the way you did it. So the original records, you had to hand copy a copy of the original sheet music, and the printing press allowed everybody to have copies of sheet music. So now everybody's playing music at home, everybody's got pianos, on and on and on. And then all of a sudden we have electricity. And so electricity gave us amplification. So you get an African-American cat like Charlie Christian that not too many people know of. He died young of tuberculosis in his early 20s. He used an electric guitar to keep up with the big band. So he was playing in Benny Goodman's band and hooked up an electric guitar so he could keep up with all those damn horns. And they're like, get that out of here, get that out of here. He goes, no, this is beautiful, listen, So the greats don't run from the technology, they embrace it. So fast forward to Jimi Hendrix. The first time you hear Hendrix, you go, whoa, I don't know if I like that or not. But he took a Marshall amp, a Strat, and some amazing gifts that he got from the Isley Brothers, and we got that. And then fast forward a little bit, and how do we go to concerts? Big amplification, technology. CDs spawned one thing. MTV gave us Madonna. Everything, and the great artists find how to use the technology in a creative way, and then right up to today, we've got probably the best tools to create with. Massive. We've got Silent. We've got Serum. We've got all these great tools today. And the greats are taking it and really doing something musical with it, and the people that are getting left behind just sit back and bitch about it.
Do you still have the sheet music that Gutenberg gave you right after he did the Bible? He pressed out the Bible.
I mix that.
I think you did.
But it is true though, because
It's not remixed. I did remix.
That's right.
But sound is important.
Yeah.
Sound is important. Whether
Absolutely.
you're studying a Beatles record and you're asking how they did that, tape delay, or you're listening to a Prince record.
100%.
I mean, so much of Prince's music is his sound.
Listen, I came from the outside. The degree that audio is important has been a discovery process for me because I came from the outside, and we've managed to create this, and it is run so deep, so wide, is so important, and a lot of the practitioners of it just never realized how important they were. And to the degree that we've helped pull back the onion, we hear from tech companies, we hear from big manufacturers, we hear from people, we hear from consumer products who now look at audio and go, wait, I need to be in that space. How can I enter it respectfully? And it's amazing because it's not a niche. Audio's, we tell people in our talks, there's no place in the world that's silent.
True.
That means your job opportunities are endless, and it is a critical space. I mean, it's amazing. As a technologist, well, one of the things last year that was fun for me is in our award show, Dave does a Dave Pensado Educational Award, and I do a Herb Chalk Visionary Award. And oftentimes I'm looking at companies that are either thinking outside the pale. Sometimes they're not even audio companies. There's some application in audio. I've looked at medical companies, looked at all kinds of different things. And last year it was a clear, hands down winner, both in terms of when I suggested to the pro committee and when I felt Native Instruments was the winner. And you took kind of your first job ever with Native Instruments. Tell us about it.
I've never had a job before.
Right.
So
Right.
I was fortunate.
Sell out.
So, well, I figured if I was going to go anywhere, why not go to a company that I make a living with?
Sure.
So, Native Instruments, I was an endorsed artist, and they were talking to me about filling this job, and they were courting me, and I was, at the time, kind of contemplating moving to Europe. And
Sure.
I wasn't sure. I just sold my house and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
So they asked me in, I said, yeah, let's try it, as long as I could still make records and tour and do things. And it's been a fantastic
How long have
place
you
for
been
me.
there?
I've been there about 2 years.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
guessing maybe under 2 years.
And what does the job entail?
I do artist relations for North America, so I headed for North America, and it's been a really good journey for me because I as much as I'm very lucky to hang out with like a Trent Reznor or Herbie Hancock or someone like this, right?
Amazing.
At sort of one end.
Amazing.
But what's almost more satisfying in a funny way is the new
Yes.
young kid or that's up and coming. That's really
genius.
inspiring to me to see this happen. So for me, and being a nerd at the end of the day, like all of us, I'm around technology every day, and I see what it's like from the inside, which is amazing operation. The company's based in Berlin, but I work in the LA office.
A lot of times I get the question, should I move to LA? Should I move to New York? I'm starting to feel Berlin. Berlin is not, by most standards, a big place, but the artistic movement in Berlin is as good as it gets anywhere in the world, and some of the music that's coming out of there has always been amazing. The artwork has been amazing, but Berlin has got to be a wonderful place to be creative in right now.
You know what else is in Berlin? Great baseball players. And, so you're going to have to compete with them with batter's box right now. But first, before we do
Hans
that,
is here.
Hans can throw a and it's softball. It's not even baseball. But before that, as you limber up, Chongor, you got some questions over there for our guests?
Got some really good ones.
All right.
Berlin.
So someone's actually listening?
Lots of people.
We asked them earlier, so they posted.
This is from Joey Herrera.
Joey.
After all these years of being in around the revolving platforms and methods of creating your art, what part of the process is your favorite?
That's a very easy question. It's being in the studio. I prefer to make records.
Gotcha.
That's what I want to. So when I die, I want to be making a record. I don't want to be on stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Just that process of being.
I prefer making records.
Quincy calls it church.
Yeah, I just like making music with other people and making records.
And I think the whole process of going to a studio and going in the gate and nobody's there and you get in that room and there's something.
And you start with this and you end up with this. And you go,
it's
wow,
hermetically
this is
sealed.
cool.
Also, too, people don't stop to think sometimes, including myself, that making a record, and you say, "Oh, Dave, that's an archaic term." No, it's a recording of a moment. So you've created a record of that moment. It's not a piece of vinyl.
Right.
But it's a team sport, and I like
That's a good point too.
I like the fact that you have to be a team to
It's a
make a
family.
great record. No great record is made with one person, and that interaction with other creative people and is in that environment where I'm sure Carmen was the same. I never thought I was good enough to be there. I never even thought about it as a career, and then suddenly I'm like he said, you're in a room with your heroes, and they like what you're doing, and so you're always looking for that moment. It never gets worse.
Give us another one, Chongor.
From David McNamara.
David who?
McNamara.
Okay, cool. Just checking.
When working on world music, do you have any favorite VST instruments or synths that you prefer?
Good question.
And you don't have to do NI.
No, it's actually not NI.
Right.
So for world music instruments, there's a couple of tricks. When you're processing an oud, okay, you're probably familiar with it.
I have no clue.
The Turkish,
Is that something that hangs down from a cow, an ouder?
A couple of good tools is if you want to process it with an amp, use a bass amp. You will get a lot more warmth than a proper guitar amp. So that's one thing. Universal Audio used to make a great plugin called Nigel, which unfortunately they got rid of. And that was a trick of mine with like Saz or an oud. Very good amp, and it just had a wonderful sound for it.
What's an oud?
An oud is a sort of like a Middle Eastern guitar,
like a
kind of layman's
balalaika, something
terms.
like-
No, it's a string. It's a. There's different variations.
It has that
of an
gourd
oud.
kind of shape on the back.
Yes, it's big.
Okay, yeah, I know what that is.
But there's a lot of other style instruments. I'm just using oud as an example. So that's something that I use a lot.
I was before I was writing the show this morning, and I got stuck, so I grabbed my oud, and I was just was going through it.
That's what you do in the morning.
Yeah, no, oud sounds better.
After your coffee in the morning.
It's got eight strings, 4 double strings, right? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Does that have 8 strings? I don't think it has 8 strings.
It's got. Is
there a picture? Can you guys put
each
up
of
an
4
image?
Strings is double.
Of an oud or a lute, okay, or a saz.
Well, how about
I'm thinking of something else.
How about you warm up your oud, and we'll get to batter's box and see if you can.
Well, Carmen's a friend, so you know how you would like to compete with your buddies. So I'm particularly.
So this is
gonna
a
be
batter's
tough
box
today.
Well, he's going to hit it with
I don't know.
a gourd
You didn't
based
actually
bat.
like prep me, so this is
This
surprising.
no,
one's
I'm
gonna
clean
be
your
better.
clock. I'm tired of being Mr. Nice
Knock him
Guy.
right out of the box. All right.
And by the way, you're my friend. You should pull for me.
I'm
once in
pulling
a
for
while.
you.
All right.
I'm upset with that. This is
right, come
watch
on.
how I start.
You know that I
cool.
still play
Watch this.
baseball,
Here
so
we go. Okay.
Yeah. Watch
And
this.
he's a baseball fan. Hit it.
and
Watch
player.
This. Watch this.
And
Watch this.
player. Here we
Watch
go.
This. You ready?
Yep.
You ready?
Yep.
Ready?
Cool.
Oscillators.
The first word that comes, thanking God that I don't have to tune to align a tape machine anymore.
Good question. Good batter's response. Nice bat
Vocals.
speed.
Vocals, recording or processing?
Whatever you want.
Okay, recording DBX 165A.
Ooh.
808.
Rare.
Over it.
Weirdest instrument you've ever recorded.
Oud. No.
Weirdest instrument I've
Or
recorded.
most unusual. Probably a better way to say it.
I won't say. Does that have to be an instrument?
I got instrument. What
Okay.
are you making the rules now? I'm the one that tells you the questions.
Okay, a sarangi, an Indian sarangi.
I thought that was something they wear like a skirt.
Oh, God. Help us.
What's that called? A saran?
Just move forward.
It's a beautiful word.
It is beautiful.
Loops.
Over it.
Favorite mic.
My favorite mic might not be the best mic, but I'm going to say it's my favorite mic, and it's a TLM 103, a Neumann, because it's a workhorse.
Yeah.
It's priced well. If you break it or you lose it, it's not expensive, and it sounds great on everything.
Berlin.
Paycheck.
No, I think of an amazing place of creativity.
Yes.
I apologize for this one, but I'm going to say it anyway because I wrote it down in advance. Machine.
How I make my beats.
There you go.
Piano.
I'm going to say una corda, which is a Niels
Oh, he's
Fromm.
showing off now.
Yeah.
No, I'm not showing off
He's
because
a baseball player.
I am a baseball player.
Absolutely. Shortstop?
And I lead off.
Oh, nice. Nice. Nice.
Una corda only because it's an important, and yes, it's a native instruments, but Niels Fromm is a German electronic piano player artist who we've modeled an instrument off of. And since I've been at Native Instruments, it's probably the biggest plugin that people freak out the most over.
Really?
It is that good of a one-string piano instrument that is just outrageous.
Wow.
Okay, you done yet? If your studio caught fire, what one piece of gear would you rescue? Can't say laptop, can't say your dog, wife, children.
Oh, so you can't say laptop. Okay. My Space Echo. My 201.
Really? Original?
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
He's good, Herb.
Yeah. Well, he
No, those
plays.
aren't good answers,
He
huh?
plays and he leads off.
I
too.
know.
So
I'm not hitting that well this year, I have
yeah,
to say.
but your bass
Clean my
speed,
clock.
you run the bases.
I still bases,
and your
yeah.
bat speed is like
Yeah,
Yeah.
He got me.
No, it was good.
I know I was in
those-
trouble when I said oscillators because I didn't tell him about that.
It was-
You didn't tell me,
I was
awesome. But wait, you kids who don't know how to do a tape machine, that is the worst part
Yeah. That's
ever of like getting there early and aligning a tape machine. It is horrible.
Oh, my sister used to hate me because why, if you want some more high end on a sound, why go to the console, go to a piece of outboard? You just go to the tape machine, turn the high end up on the tape machine, and it's beautiful, it's clear, it goes through less electronics.
Yeah,
And that's
but
how I got all that pristine
But
high
that's
end.
this just real quick. This is a dying art that these people don't know. Maybe is when we were being schooled, people could tweak a tape machine better than others to sound better.
Yeah.
And people could edit.
Oh,
And the two best editors was Susan Rogers and Sylvia Massey.
Amazing. with a razor blade.
With a razor blade, and that was a skill that you guys.
I don't know. I'm pretty good.
I don't know your editing skills.
Well,
so I can't say.
I'm amazing. I'll tell you why. Because where I
Is
got
he good
and humble.
Well, I mean, listen to Demi Baby thought it was me. Thought it was me is about 20, 30 pieces of tape just in the first 16 bars, and only
2-inch.
No, half inch.
Okay,
but the reason I got good at editing, all kidding aside, is the person that Paul Davis and another guy owned the studio. The other guy used to edit radio commercials from like 31 minutes down to whatever the slot was, and so he could edit on different words, and he expected me when he was teaching me. You don't just edit on a kick or a snare or a hi-hat, something you can hear. He would edit on breaths and stuff, and
it's dying art, thank God.
So my first day there, we've got a tape rolling. The band's out in the studio. They're just recording. And my job was to take that reel off when it ran out, put another one on real fast, and let the band the band never stopped. And then they'd leave for dinner. I'd take an hour's worth of jamming, and I'd edit down to like the best verse, the best chorus, the best second verse, best chorus. Wow. And I had to do that before they got back from dinner.
Well, thank you
and
for that.
I loved it.
All right, thank you for that.
I felt like I was a real engineer.
Better you than me.
So, couple things. Pensado Awards 3 coming up. Would love to have you there. Want to talk to you about that. It's August 20th.
With great pleasure.
We'll let you know that. Okay. Would like to have you on the pro committee as well too, as we make selections. So I'll hit you about that stuff. Dave's Fab Factory is opening up soon, and I know Native Instruments is talking about doing some stuff with it. That's just going to be very cool. We're fans of the company, but we're more fans of yours and who you are and what you represent. Thank you for gracing us. It is absolutely wonderful. Let's stay close. We can't get it all in one show, so you got to come back.
Okay, absolutely.
You promise?
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
Talk more baseball.
Absolutely.
But who's your team? I never asked you.
We'll talk about that because we'll have to talk about that. DP, take us home.
I'm gonna try this. It might not come out perfect, but check it out. World music got named because they didn't know where to slot this particular type of music in a record store. So somebody came up with the idea, if you put a world music placard there and then put all these records in front of the world music placard, it would make music easier to find. And somebody at a radio station said, if we play these kind of songs, then we can sell product to this age group and this ethnicity. All these things are artificial. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe with all this stuff. Music is music. There are no genres. There's no one type of music. If you enjoy fast food and that's all you want to eat, more power to you. But sometimes you want to go check out other restaurants, and music's the same way. If you go check out other things, it'll make you more interesting in the lane that you're in. Don't get trapped by genre, and don't get trapped by labels, because those are put there artificially to control you, okay? That was an exaggeration, but I think I made the point. Does that make sense, sir?
It does. Now say goodbye.
Adios.
Bye-bye.